This is a tutorial on the ZwoBot RGB device. ZwoBot is a suite of Max for Live devices which allows you to create visuals inside Ableton. If you're not familiar with it, I'd recommend you go back and watch some of my earlier tutorials, and I'll put a link to those in the top right corner of the screen now. And if you're interested in buying ZwoBot, there's a link in the description. So I've already connected my RGB device to my ZwoBot player, and I've got this image loaded in to my video deck here. What the RGB device does is it creates a red, green and blue version of the image, and you can then move those colors in different directions. We've got two dials here, offset X and offset Y. Now currently they're switched all the way down to 0, which is why nothing is happening to the image. But if I start to bring this offset X dial up, you'll see we've got this red version of the image, a green version and a blue version, and they have been split apart horizontally, which is the X-axis. So this dial controls how far apart those colors are horizontally. And then underneath that we've got offset Y, which does the same thing but on the Y-axis, so vertically. We also have these buttons over here, these X buttons. If you click that, that will create a warp effect. So you can see, instead of it just being a duplication of the image, it's also warping it. This is more obvious to see when the effect is moving, so I'm just going to apply some sound reactivity on here. I'm going to have the X axis setting responding to the lower frequencies, and the Y I'll put to the higher frequencies. I'll just unmute this track. This is a track by an artist called Navot. The track is called Welded. I'll put a link to that album in the description. So you can see both of these controls now are responding to the audio. This one is responding to the lower frequencies, this is responding to the higher frequencies. If I put the warp effect on both of those, you can see how it looks different. What we can also do over here, we've got color variation. So by default it's set to all, which means you're going to see red, green and blue, but you can also choose to just have blue and green, so no red. So now we've got a blue version, a green version and a black and white version. You can have no green, which will change the green to black and white, and then no blue, which will change the blue to black and white. And that also has sound reactivity, so we can have that change in accordance with the highs or lows. And all of these controls, as well as having sound reactivity, have beat controls. So if I just turn all these off, what that means is we can press these buttons here and this one, and now all of these three settings are going to change randomly in accordance with your BPM. So currently they're not changing because my master beat control over here is set to off, but if I change that to half a note, now they're going to change every half a note, and that is going to be synced with your project BPM. And I can make it faster if I want by turning this up. And down in the bottom left hand corner, as with all of our ZwoBot devices, we've got transparency and blend modes. So this setting here controls the overall transparency of the effect. And here we have a selection of blend modes we can use, which will blend the effect with the underlying visual.